Hello, everyone, and welcome back to DSMN8's podcast. I'm Lewis Gray. I'm a senior marketing manager at DSMN8 and your host for today's episode. Now, if you've ever tried to find the perfect employee advocacy platform, you'll know that it's not as easy as comparing Spotify and Apple Music. The stakes are higher, the features are deeper, and let's be honest, everyone's promising the same things: more reach, better engagement, and simplified social sharing. So, how do you cut through the noise? Today, we're diving into one of the most practical topics we've covered, which is how to run an RFP for employee advocacy software. This one's for the program managers, the social media leads, the procurement pros, and frankly, anyone who wants to avoid a tech stack horror story 6 months from now. We'll walk through the 5 essential steps of running a successful RFP, how to get internal buy-in, and how to actually compare platforms. I'll also share a few insider tips from companies that have been through it, including some gems from past podcast guests. And hey, if you're short on time, we've already done a lot of the hard work for you. We put together a free RFP template that we've linked in the show notes. It's saved teams days, if not weeks of work. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the why, because before you send off 14 emails to different vendors and block time with your IT and legal teams, you're going to need to be clear on what you're actually trying to solve with this RFP. Are you replacing an existing platform that's underperforming? Is this your first time launching an employee advocacy program? Are you consolidating tools or maybe tightening up your tech stack? Whatever the reason, your RFP should be grounded in your specific goals. So if your focus is brand awareness, prioritize reach and impressions. If it's driving pipeline, look for advanced attribution. And if it's something like personal branding for your executive leadership team, then make sure the platform supports that at scale. We've seen it all. Some companies want control, pre-approved copy, guardrails. Others want freedom, authored posts, and user creativity. But your job is to document the must-haves and nice-to-haves early on. Otherwise, every vendor will sound like the perfect fit. So next, you need to build your team and define your criteria, because this isn't a solo mission. You'll need input from multiple departments: marketing, obviously, sales if they're key users, IT for security and integrations, legal or compliance if you're in a regulated industry, and ideally a few end users, so people who will actually be using the thing. Um, there's a great clip from a recent podcast episode where Nissan's former advocacy program manager, Brad Nevin, was explaining why they started small and with the right people. So I'll hand over to him.
It was with 500 people just to kick the tires. It was like, let's just make sure this thing works. Let's just try it out. I remember I saw power users on LinkedIn, Nissan employees who were sharing a lot. There were 2 or 3 of them. And I said, can you guys come on and just try this out? And they were very excited to try it out. And it just took off from there.
If you're wondering what to include in your criteria, our blog post breaks it down into 9 core categories. Things like usability, reporting, scalability, onboarding, and more. We also recommend assigning weightings to each one. So if security is non-negotiable, give it 10 out of 10. If gamification is just an added bonus, then maybe that one's a 3. So next up, we need to talk logistics. So once your RFP is written, it's time to send it out. Send it to a shortlist. So we recommend no more than 5 vendors. Otherwise, you'll be drowning in demos and conflicting sales pitches. Give your vendors a realistic deadline and be transparent about your timeline as well. So here's where things get tricky, and it's comparing responses. Some vendors will send you sleek PDFs, others will send bullet points in a Word doc, so standardize your comparisons. Use a scorecard, ideally with the weightings that we mentioned earlier, and make sure everyone on your review team has visibility on the feedback. Don't just evaluate the tech, evaluate the team. Think about things like, will they support you after your launch? Are they proactive in helping you succeed? Do they listen to you, or are they just pitching? We actually wrote a case study about this. So it was a client of ours, Swiss Post. One of their requirements was segmentation by geography, language, and seniority. And they needed a platform that could mirror their business structure. Not every vendor could do that, but they only discovered that by asking the right questions early on. So I'll add a link to that case study in the show notes. Next up, you need to run the demo sessions, and absolutely don't skip this part, because demos are where things often fall apart or fall into place. A good vendor demo should be tailored to your use case, and it shouldn't just feel like a general walkthrough of their platform. So before the call, send over your priorities and ask them to show you what matters most to you. Bring your review team in as well. That includes your end users, your compliance team, basically anyone who will spot red flags or friction points. And a quick tip, but a really helpful one, is just ask for a test account or a sandbox account. It's the best way to see how intuitive the platform really is. You can really dig in, have a play around, and understand how it works for you. And don't be afraid to ask about what's not included as well. So sometimes the best question can be, what's going to cost us extra further down the line? And then the final stage, though it's often the hardest one, is just make your decision. It's decision time. And this is where you balance function with future proofing. So think about things like which platform will support your program in year 1 and in year 3, and which vendor do you trust to grow with you. Again, we had a fantastic conversation with a chap called Jordan Tenenbaum from Talkdesk, and he was basically telling us about what influenced his decision to choose the vendor that they ultimately went with. So I'll hand over to Jordan.
I think a lot of people don't know what employee advocacy is. I don't think they know how to engage in employee advocacy. They don't know how to use whatever employee advocacy platform you're using. They don't know what's the best way to take advantage of the algorithm on a specific social media, what types of posts perform best, why they perform best. And if you just kind of tell people like, hey, go do this, well, yeah, they can do it, but it's not going to be very good. And so if you can spend time educating, different teams, sales, customer success, executive leadership team, BDRs and SDRs, and showing them each kind of a specific tailored way to engage with employee advocacy, that really helps give them a solid base and a solid foundation to be as effective doing employee advocacy as possible. And so I'd rather have 50 people doing really good employee advocacy rather than 100 people doing really bad employee advocacy. And I think the way to achieve that is education. And with education, you can start with those 50 doing really good employee advocacy, and you can eventually grow it to 100 or 200 doing great employee advocacy. So I'd say education is probably the most important.
And if you're stuck between two great options, consider running a short pilot with both of them or just request customer references. It's worth the extra time now to avoid the platform fatigue later. Okay, that's your crash course in how to run an RFP for employee advocacy software. But just to recap, know your goals, build your internal team and define clear criteria, standardize how you compare platforms, and use demos to test real world workflows. Don't just buy the tool, buy the team. And if you're thinking, "Oh, that's a lot to remember that we've put together a free RFP template that includes all of this. So head to the blog post that we linked in the show notes or visit DSMN8's website and you can grab it there. We also cover a lot of related topics in our employee advocacy benchmark report. So if you're wondering how other companies are measuring success or structuring their programs, that's a great next step too. One final ask, if you have enjoyed this episode, please do leave us a review or send this to a colleague because it really helps us reach other listeners. But thank you again for tuning in.